All right, so today we're going to talk about the basic properties of real numbers. The first property we're going to talk about, you can see up here, is the commutative property. What it means, and it applies to addition and multiplication, but it means that when we're adding or when we're multiplying, we can change the order that we add or multiply without changing how it simplifies. And so what you see is the rule, A plus B equals B plus A times B equals B times A. These are things we know. We know that 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. But when you have variables instead of numbers, sometimes we don't always think about that as being obvious. All right, sometimes we'll be working a problem where you have to cancel from the numerator and denominator, and we have x plus y on top and x plus y on the bottom. And you'll ask me, or y plus x on top and x plus y on the bottom, are these the same thing? They are the same thing. Now here's the thing. It doesn't work with subtraction, and it doesn't work with division. So if you're subtracting or dividing, you can't switch the order. You will change the answer, so don't do that. All right. The associative property, and you'll notice something, each of these equations happens to have 3 parts to it. When you're talking about the associative property, you got to have more than 2 parts. You got to have 3 parts or even more parts. Okay? Here's the deal. What it's saying is if everything I'm doing is adding, or if everything I'm doing is multiplying, I can change how I group these together and still get the same answer. So notice something. Both sides in the same order. ABC, 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 ABC. What is changed is that A and B are grouped. On this side, B and C are grouped. It doesn't matter how you group those. You will still get the same answer. All right? Now, we have the identity property. And the identity property is what can we do to a number and not change it? All right? What can we do to a number and not change it? Well, with addition, we can add 0 to it, and we will not change it. We can add 0 to it. So any number plus 0 is itself. I mean, obvious, we know that. That's the identity property. Multiplication, we can multiply it by 1. So any number times 1 is itself. Think about it this way. The identity property is what can I do to a number and I still get the same number itself. All right? That's what I can do to a number and still get the same number. Now, inverse properties are talking about inverses. Now there's a additive inverse and there's multiplicative inverses. And I also have another way that you can name these inverse properties, and I'll show you what those are. But with addition, A and negative A, any number and its negative are additive inverses. And what happens when you add them together? You get 0. 5 and negative 5 is 0. 20 and negative 20 is 0. They are inverses. So one way that you can write this is called property of opposites. So we'll just put a little arrow here. Also called property of opposites. Okay. Now, with multiplication, a multiplicative inverse is what 2 numbers can you multiply and get 1. All right? Multiplicative inverses is a number and its reciprocal. So remember, we talked about finding reciprocals yesterday. If you have a number, you just put 1 over that number. If you have a fraction, you flip it upside down. All right? So any number times its reciprocal gives you 1. Now, this is easy when you have 5 times 1/5, okay? It looks easy. But it's also true when you have x and 1 over x. That is also 1. All right, there's another name for this as well. This is the property of reciprocals. Okay, last is the distributive property. Now, there's only one distributive property. There's not one for addition and one for multiplication. And remember, there's no properties for subtraction and division. None of these apply. So, the distributive property is actually of multiplication with respect to addition. So, here's the distributive property. That is when you have something added or subtracted in parentheses multiplied by something else. That's the distributive property. And so you know this from Algebra 1. When you distribute here, you get a times b plus a times c. That's easy. Here's the thing not to mess up, okay? Just because it kind of looks like this doesn't mean it's this. If you have this, you're not going to distribute. And the reason why, this is not a plus or a minus. All right, don't distribute. That's not distribution. Only if there's a plus or a minus. This equals ABC, A times B times C, period. All right, not AB times AC. So just be careful. If it looks like this is not distribution. Only if it has a plus or a minus is it distribution. Okay, let's go to the next page. And obviously, my bad hair day will show up in that video. Oh, actually, we're at the end of it. All right, so here's what I want to do.